Really, really nice weekend of racing on the track. Great weekend for the home teams. Carson's run in the Saratoga Derby, who we'll talk about in a little bit, like what a magical horse he's been. But we got to lead with the Rail Talk family horse, Sandman. Yep. Man, that was great. So I was away on my bachelor party weekend, sitting by the pool with my boys, and I say, hey, company I work for and my buddy have a $1.2 million horse that's about to run at Saratoga. And they all got in on it. I streamed it for all of them, and they really got into it. And it was just such an awesome way to start the day, because we were starting a day at like 12:30, as you would imagine, on a bachelor party weekend. But it was, I was expecting a big move forward from him after his debut. His debut was like, he just ran too fast, too early, and it's hard to go 21-4 and keep going as a first-time starter, especially when you're chasing, you're not on the lead. I was hoping for him to be able to settle back, make one run. That's exactly what he did. It was a good ride by Dylan Davis, kept him on the inside, and he looked loaded the whole way around the turn, slipped through on the inside of Innovator, turning for home. And Innovator, I think, is a really nice horse, too. Yep. Just edged away professionally in the stretch, didn't drift out or in, didn't really need the stick too many times. And, I think the sky is the limit now, John. He got an 81 buyer, like the Breeders' Cup juvenile buyer par has got to be like in the 90s, so he doesn't need to, jump up that far. Sounds like, and John, maybe you can fill the audience in if any of this is wrong. It sounds like he wants to go 2 turns with him next time out. So he wants to go in the Iroquois at Churchill, and then maybe the Breeders' Futurity, and then the Breeders' Cup. But what an exciting thing to even talk about for a horse that's so near and dear to so many of us and so many of the people we care about.
Well, Joe, and back up a little bit on the story. Of obviously him winning impressively is important, and running an 81 buyer when the same day at the Saratoga Special was run, which is the 6.5 furlong stake race for 2-year-old colts. Showcase won that as Son of Uncle Mo and ran a 79 buyer, 79-81, pretty close. But I really like the way that Sandman did it. He broke, he sat in a pocket, he got a little dirt in his face, didn't bother him. Dylan Davis, who had a weekend. I mean, he had a weekend if he had a day. He really had a phenomenal showing. Handled the horse very well, kept him on the rail. When the hole opened up, he kind of smooched him a little bit. I think he hit him on the shoulder just to get him through that. And then it was just the two of them, going nip and tuck until finally we put the horse away and ran a huge race. I thought it looked like at the end he had his ears pricked. He was doing it all the right way, and that's what you want to see. Second or third time out is a horse getting some confidence, getting some professionalism, and hitting holes and doing it the right way. So it was really, really cool. The pre-story to all that is what a lot of people don't realize, Joe, and again, we should take full credit for this, is that if you and I weren't doing this show together, Sandman would not be in either of our colors, quite frankly. He'd be in somebody else's barn. And the reason why I say that is because you and I did the show the morning of the sale. Sandman had just galloped a couple days prior and was on a couple of people's radar, was certainly on ours. And we sat there to do the pre-show at Mark Cassie's farm. And my dad was there, and you and I were there, and Terry Finley was there. And we all compared notes and said, who's your top colt? Who's your top colt? Maybe we should get together on this instead of bidding against each other and form an alliance, i.e. not the Avengers, but form an alliance together and buy this horse. And to my surprise, not only were we able to buy the horse, but Terry actually brought in Vinny Viola, who, people say he's had a little experience campaigning some good colts too.
Yeah, no, he's had quite a few. And that was like, you're right. It came together so beautifully, and I'm not going to take all the credit for it. But if we are lucky enough to win the Kentucky Derby next year, I'm elbowing you out of the way. I'm elbowing Terry out of the way. I'm elbowing Vinny out of the way.
You can try. You can certainly try.
I kid, of course, but no, it is so exciting. Just like the prospect of him, and we talked about this after we bought the horse. Like, the great thing about him is that he had just galloped.
Yeah.
So you knew there was a lot more development still to come with him, and that still seems to be the case. Like, he looks for all the world like a 2-turn horse. It's just a very easy strider. Jason Blewett called him a smooth operator, and I think that's a good way to describe him, because he is. Like, he just does everything very easily, gets pretty high off the ground. It was a great still shot of him when in that race, way off the ground, and he's beautiful too. That's the other thing. Like if you ever see him up close, he's gorgeous. You don't see grays that have like the big white blaze down the middle of their face. Like he's so unique looking. He's so unique acting for a Tapit because he's as pleasant as the day is long, and it's very, very rare to find that from that sire line.
Yep.
But he's one of a kind. He's special. Mark Casse had a great quote. He said Gary Barber was by the barn, and he was like, "Who's that?"
Right.
Yeah. He's like, he's beautiful. Yeah. And Mark goes, that's what $1.2 million gets you.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And it was great to see the horse, hit the wire first. It gives you a lot of enthusiasm and it lets you dream. And you mentioned the Iroquois is probably the next race that's in 6 weeks. And then because of a scheduling, glitch, basically, I'm calling it a glitch. But Churchill Downs usually runs at a different time, and they gave additional dates to Kentucky Downs because Churchill Downs is not offering turf racing currently. So they granted Kentucky Downs an extra couple of days. So, Joe, what that means is instead of the Iroquois being 4 weeks before the Breeders' Futurity, it's actually only 3 weeks. So we're going to run in the Iroquois, and depending on how he comes out of it, if he comes out of it well, then I would expect that would be the next stop for him would be Keeneland. If he comes out of it and maybe he just put in too hard of a run or may need a little bit of time, hopefully we can, we'll skip the Breeders' Futurity and just go right out west. And hopefully, go. I'm not even going to say the name of the name of the race. We're just going to say it's the first Friday of November. Out in
too late. I already said it.
Out in Del Mar. But people want to know. People have stopped me on the street and asked me about Sandman. And the very next question is, when are we getting some shirts? So, I've been towing the line. I've been saying he's got to get black type before he gets any kind of shirt, memorabilia deals going on. But Joe, speaking of deals, rumor has it that there's a couple of farms in Kentucky that have been sniffing around and talking a little bit about Sandman and his potential, golden sperm down the road.
Oh my God! Well, the only golden sperm on this show is usually,
Yeah.
No, I was talking about me.
The silver spoon and the golden spermer. Yes. I got since it's the Olympics, I got and the bronze feet. I got the full complement of medals going on here, Joe.
Oh, it's like the shittiest superheroes you've ever heard.
Still not
the golden sperm.
Still not as bad as Aquaman.
The silver spoon.
Aquaman's still below them, though.
The new Avengers, the golden sperm, the silver spoon. I gotta. Oh, this is getting gross. But I gotta say, don't start talking about stallion deals, please. No, I know I talked about the Derby, but can we take it one race at a time? It's hard. See, that's the thing. That's what's so hard is I covering racing for such a long time, I didn't realize how hard it is not to get over your skis when a horse has a big race. And we, at West Point, we try to temper ourselves a lot. When we have a really exciting horse, let's not go crazy. Let's not book 8 dates for him going forward to lead up to the Breeders' Cup or the Derby or whatever it is. But no, he's obviously a great horse to dream about, and he can be the people's horse, for all the reasons that I mentioned.
Yep.
And I'm glad that he's become so popular, and hopefully he only becomes more so as his accomplishments pile up.
And Joe, that was, for you guys, humbly, I think that was the second most important race that you guys won over the weekend. Carson's Run ran a huge race in the Grade 1 Saratoga Derby. And I know that was an emotional winner's circle. And why don't you go into detail on that since it's your horse?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I'm sure most people are familiar with the origin story for his name. Wade Yost, who is a West Point partner. He was an old classmate of Terry's at West Point. He has a son, Carson Yost, who has the same degenerative disease that Cody Dorman had. And, he's in his 30s. He's in a wheelchair. He doesn't communicate. And Wade has done Wade and the Yost family have obviously done an unbelievable job taking care of him and making him part of the family. And Wade wanted to honor him in a way because Carson's brothers and sisters are all great athletes. Mm-hmm. He wanted something to be associated with Carson that was athletic. So we wanted to name the horse Carson's Run. We picked this horse, and wouldn't you know it, he becomes a multiple Grade 1 winner. And it's been so cool this year in particular because, he did win the summer as a 2-year-old, and then he was kind of disappointing in the Breeders' Cup, and then he was a little bit disappointing, had a weird race in the Woodhaven to start the year. And then his last 2 races in the Tail of the Cat and the Saratoga Derby have just been powerhouse performances. And he honestly was a big overlay in both of those races. Like usually the West Point horses, they're not for betting because the West Point partners, God love them, their enthusiasm, they bet hard, and that's what they should do. But as a neutral bettor, like they're typically not the horses I look to bet. But Carson's Run was 7-2 in the Tail of the Cat as a Grade 1 winner. And he was 5-1 on Sunday in the Saratoga Derby. Like, I get why Legend of Time was favored, but was he really supposed to be 5 times the price of Legend of Time? Like, to me, that made no sense. I did have a couple of bucks on him, but it was just, he had that powerful stretch kick. And who would have thought Horse by Cupid out of a Henny Hughes mare is a multiple Grade 1 winning turf horse. And the other thing too, John, that I really liked about this race is he stretched out. He had never won beyond a mile and a 16th, never run beyond a mile and a 16th before. And the Clements were considering running him in the Hall of Fame, going a mile. He was doing so well, they were like, let's go for the big money and the $1 million Saratoga Derby. And he proved that distance is no problem. So that opens up all sorts of doors for him too going forward, going a mile and a quarter and maybe a mile and a quarter and up. So well, how could he's the perfect horse that's like an overachiever. And he was 170K at OBS. So you don't have to spend, obviously we spent the big bucks to get Sandman and, we're all hoping for the best for him, but you don't have to spend $1 million. These horses are out there. You got to have the right people. Shout out to Randy Miles and his consignment. He was the one that said, this, you got to take a look at this horse. We got another one from him this Saturday in Moment's Notice, who's a 2-year-old we really like. But yeah, you just got to do some digging. Those horses are out there, and man, what a great story. Also, Steve Bushy, who is the one of the partners, the outside partners on the horse, he lost his wife earlier this year, sadly, and that was another reason that it was very emotional in the winner's circle. Like that win was for so many people, beyond just the people who had an actual equity stake in the horse. Another one who's the people's horse, and I appreciate you bringing it up because that was special. I wish I was there, but that was special.
You love to hear stories like that, not only about the people, but look, the thing about Carson's Run, and again, this is from an outsider looking in. I know you said he ran a disappointing race in the Breeders' Cup Turf and a disappointing race in the Woodhaven. He lost the Breeders' Cup Turf running in the post 11 of 11, he lost by 3 lengths. And then in the Woodhaven, coming off a layoff, he only lost by 4 lengths, and he had all kinds of traffic problems. So, so you can kind of, again, in hindsight, you can draw lines through them. But the Tail of the Cat was impressive, and you wonder, you say, well, what kind of group was in there? It doesn't matter because he won, and he won impressively. And now to win a Grade 1 again, as a 2-year-old and as a 3-year-old, you got to love his future as far as racing. And the nice thing about it is, again, no offense to Cupid, because I know he's your favorite stallion. But, you don't have to worry about building a stallion resume for this horse. You can just go with wherever the horse's opportunities avail themselves. And to be able to go this far, a mile and 3/16, and show that he has that kick at the end to be able to do it was really, really cool. And don't forget, you beat a couple of horses in there. Legend of Time, I think the reason why he was the overwhelming favorite had more to do with the connections, Godolphin and Charles Appleby, than anything else. But he had run a couple of credible races here in the States. Diego Velasquez had, ran some great races overseas. I mean, it was a really good, solid, race that he put in, and had to be rescheduled. So, again, I give my hats off to the training ability of the Clement team, because it's really difficult to get a horse ready for a Saturday and then not really know if they were going to run that Saturday or not, ultimately having it get pushed off a week. So then you go, well, what do we do? Do we put a maintenance breeze into them? Do we just kind of keep them in bubble wrap? It's not an easy thing. And to be able to go a mile and 3/16 on top of that, it's a really difficult, job that they did. So I give all give credit to everyone involved. There was definitely some human reasons why the horse won. Emotional reasons, I guess, is the reason why I was looking for. And let's just take a sidebar on Dylan Davis, who, Dylan has won a bunch of good races, including, Sandman, and now Carson's run, and he won another graded stake race that same day. Here's a guy who's not an Ortiz, he's not Rosario, he's not Pratt, he's not any of these big name, top riders that are currently hanging their talents at Saratoga, and all he's doing is winning at a 20% clip this meet.
Yeah, he's had a great meet. Tyler Gaffleone's had a great meet.
Yep.
I always love at Saratoga when it's not just the household names. Not that these guys, not that Tyler or Dylan are obscure names, but just relatively speaking, compared to like the Eclipse Award winning riders, it's such a competitive jockey colony that I love to see guys step up, get opportunities. You know what else is a really good meet? Ricardo Santana.
Yeah.
He's had like 16, 17 winners, and like just especially like compared to the amounts that the other guys are getting, right. He has made the most, and he goes there to work.
Yeah.
There are certain, I'm not going to name any names, but there are certain Kentucky riders that go up there for a semi-vacation. Yep. They ride, enough horses to keep their jock's license up in Saratoga, but they're mostly there to chill, which whatever, God bless. Right. Ricardo Santana, Tyler Gaffleone, they go up there to work, and the results have proven it.
Yep. And one more shout out. How about our man Mark Cassie, who has 25 two-year-old winners this year? Let that sink in. 25 two-year-old winners, and I think like a third of them are at Saratoga. And he won a couple more over the weekend, obviously with Sandman, but there were others. The guy is not known for being a juvenile, trainer, right? If I said to you, who are the top, 2-year-old trainers in the country, I don't think Cassie's name would necessarily come up in the top 10 or 15. There'd be a lot more guys that, the opening day, the first time a horse runs, that's their Super Bowl, that's their Derby. And Mark doesn't train that way. So to have over 24 two-year-old winners already, and we're in the middle of August, is just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, no, he's had a tremendous season so far, and I think there's probably several good babies still to be unveiled. So yeah, it's shout out to Mark and the Cassie team. They do an unbelievable job.